They laugh when I said mainstream conservative arguments are now indistinguishable from 1920s Nazi arguments, and yet. Oh, this one's really funny. I read this. I myself am Jewish ancestrally. I'm Christian by faith, but Jewish by blood. I've actually read Mein Kampf. The end conclusions that he came to, absolutely abominable. But I strangely understood where he was coming from as far as wanting to improve the national state of Germany. I'm not racist because I have a black friend type shit. Brother, that's literally like saying I'm not racist because I used to be black. I'm no longer black. But, you know, David Duke had some good opinions. What do you mean? It's worse than that. He literally is like, I'm Jewish, but I'm Christian now. And Hitler had some good ideas about the Jews, honestly. I didn't like the end point of the Holocaust. That's a full Uncle Ruckus. Does anyone think women should not be allowed to vote? Only Andrew raises his hand. I just feel like women are very emotional and that politics is a man's discipline. I seriously believe it. My mother actually believes this too. And I know some other women who believe that. I just feel like I've never really seen a woman who truly understands politics. Sophie, yeah, that might be your issue with finding a good quality girl. Have you ever thought about the fact that a woman's emotions are a beautiful thing and that they might complement a man? And that, yes, maybe we make different decisions because of emotions, but if it were just men, there would be no reasoning. I think it's a beautiful thing to have both sides. Yeah, both views about the women voting thing are misogynistic. Yeah, I know. National sovereignty, Hitler was a nationalist. He was like, we have to take Germany back for Germans. And I feel like we should do that in America. We should take America back for our native population. So I'm not an expert on Hitler by any means, but as far as nationalism is concerned, I'm all that. Oh, by the way, the women shouldn't vote guy is a 20-year-old white Christian landscaper who considers himself very right-wing and voted for Trump in 2024, but isn't sure if he'll vote in the next election. Andrew describes himself as a close follower of Nick Fuentes and drove in from rural Tennessee, far outside of Nashville, to participate in this focus group. These guys are our coworkers. Oh yeah, it's fucking awesome, dude. Yeah, this is where we're at. Where is this from? I need to. Everyone wants to know what Gen Z Republicans think. We ask them, which is a terrible idea, okay? Participants, Addie, an 18-year-old Hispanic Baptist Republican woman attending college who considers herself very right-wing but did not vote in 2024. Addie walked out during the middle of the group. Alex, a 28-year-old white high school graduate who works as a property manager. He's a non-denominational Protestant. Allie, a 28-year-old white Baptist stay-at-home mom of two, with one more on the way, whose highest level of education is trade school. She is a Republican. Andrew, a 20-year-old white Christian landscaper. We already read that one. Ashley, a 29-year-old white Baptist woman who works as a subcontractor renovating homes. She's a high school educated Republican. I'm beginning to notice a trend here with the educational attainment. Okay, Atticus, a 25-year-old white non-denominational Protestant man who has attended some college and works in marketing. He's a Republican. Now, let me tell you something. It was tremendously beneficial for the modern Republican movement to make sure that education was completely paywalled and inaccessible for large chunks of American society. It was also a win-win for the colleges that wanted to turn this into a gay hedge fund for themselves, right? Because that's basically what college campuses have become now. It's like the educational part of the education is actually secondary. It's just basically a gay hedge fund. That's what college is, unfortunately. But obviously, the generational impact of this, unlimited for-profit, unlimited profiteering in institutes of higher learning, it has obviously created an entire generation of people who are just not very well educated. It has made the American laborers less educated overall. It's made them more malleable. And it's very beneficial if you're interested in just duping large swaths of the population. But it also has made people stupid. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like it's made people dumber. And this is the product, because I think there's a comfortable middle ground between like not too much education and no education whatsoever. And when you fucking rip out the public education structure as well for the exact same reasons, when you basically destroy public education, K through 12, and then you make it inaccessible for people to get a higher degree, all of a sudden, you've made your entire population too stupid. And at first, they were malleable. At first, they were easier to control. But when they become a little too stupid, when they go beyond the malleable level of stupid, the perfect stupid barrier, like the perfect stupid middle ground, now they're not exactly controllable either. They just make up their own minds. We're there. We're nearing that level of stupidity where everyone is surrounded by other stupids and think, of course, we're all stupid. This is just how it's supposed to go. Bryce, a 24-year-old white Baptist man. He attended some college and previously worked in security. He's now self-employed as a writer, working primarily on a Star Wars YouTube channel. He's an independent who voted for Trump in 2024. That's the guy who is a Jewish ancestry, who said he read Mein Kampf and was like, yeah, I get it. How much you want to bet he fucking hates how woke Star Wars is? Caleb, white 29-year-old Baptist Republican. He completed a bachelor's degree and works as an IT trainer for an EV charger manufacturer. Judging by how things are going, I suspect Caleb will be a liberal the next election cycle. You can count on that. Colin, a 19-year-old Christian white Republican student at Vanderbilt. Dawson, a 21-year-old white Republican, is currently at college studying political science, and he interns at his local Protestant church. DC, a 29-year-old white man, is an independent who voted for Trump in 2024. He went to law school and currently works as an attorney. Ethan, 29-year-old white Methodist Republican man who works as a warehouse manager. Moderator, where do you get your political news from? Andrew, Spotify podcasts like Tucker Carlson or Rumble with Nick Fuentes, a guy who's been in the political radio space for 40 years or so. He's an older dude who I think went to Vandy. Crom Carmichael. Bryce, I get a lot of my political news from YouTubers. These are the dumb that watch the slop tubers, by the way, straight up. I'm just letting you know. It's not just like liberals who watch the slop tubers. It's like guys like this too. And when he says that, I know he means Asmongold. Anyway, most of the news I get is through TikTok or just conversation with other people. That's not how you consume the news. What do you mean you get your news from conversations? You know, the printing press exists. What are you talking about? She went real old school with it. She's like, you know, tales that people tell you. That's how you move history, right? The village elders tell me about how things have happened in the past. It's the oral tradition. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, the town crier tells me what's going on. I get my news from merchants on the Silk Road. They are well traveled, sir. I think the next level, the next stage in conservative madness is just being like, I make it up. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I make it up. I just close my eyes and imagine what the news of the day looks like. It's pretty cool. You should do it too. The voices in my head inform me about all the comings and goings of modernity. God told me in a dream, you know, that sort of thing. That's where we're going to devolve into. Madison, not really into politics, but my favorite influencer is Alex Earl. Most of my political stuff I get from podcasters that I like. I'm thinking Alex Clark, Brett Cooper, as well as family members. Dog, I'm sorry. I have never met someone who has answered the question, where do you get your news from? With, oh, just my family members. Once again, going back to the oral tradition. That's not how you are supposed to. I'm not even. Wow, dude. Wow. My drunkest uncle. Lauren, various sources through Instagram and YouTube, just kind of like whatever pops up. I've seen a lot of Alex Clark and Brett Cooper, and then kind of just going into the whole religious political space. Oh, I love Mark Driscoll. He's amazing. My brother actually has a newsletter here in Nashville that I read daily, then Twitter, and podcasts like Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro. Mainly YouTube, Donald Trump, Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump. I get my news from the president. I love getting my news directly from the president of the United States of America. Oh my God. Oh, that's so awesome. This is the greatest article ever written, dude. Conservatives in their environment, just unrestrained, you know? No safeguards. Also, the guy who got assassinated, Charlie. Well, that's 1 out of 3 primary news sources that you lost. Not looking too good. Got to replace that with someone. Definitely Candace Owens, by the way. That's crazy. This Mark Driscoll guy has no neck. Oh, dude, Jesus Christ. Anyway, social media podcasts, Joe Rogan, stuff like that. Just kind of depends on the day. Mainly social media and Instagram, but if not, CNN. Okay, Colin. That is, I think, the first time someone has actually pointed to a news source. I mean, doesn't have to be CNN, but like, I'll take Fox News, you know what I mean? Over whatever the these guys are saying. Holy shit, I can't believe how bad things are. My news comes from a blend of social media, so Twitter or X on Instagram, but then also podcasts on Spotify, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, mostly a lot of Christian podcasts like the King's Hall podcast. For me, it's never just the traditional Fox News style thing, just because after all the years of growing up with my parents and grandparents, waking up in the house with it blasting and just droning, it was never appealing to me. More individual personalities tend to draw me in more. Honestly, my dad kind of fills me in on everything, or TikTok. Dude, why are you lie? Why are you admitting that? Oh my God, what the is happening? My dad kind of fills me in on everything? A lot of people will be like, you get your news from a Twitch streamer, and they like point to me. Motherfucker, people are getting the news from their dad. Like, at least as a part of my job, I'm like reading actual news resources, like interviewing journalists, interviewing congresspersons. Like, what do you mean you get your news from your dad? What the fuck? For me, it's you and Philip DeFranco, so don't act like weird personalities are necessarily a bad news source. First of all, that's not true even for you. Because right now, for example, we're reading cityjournal.org. So at the very least, by transitive property, by way of just being in this community, you are still getting your news from traditional outlets. You're not getting it from a random guy on TikTok or your fucking dad. I am not your dad. I'm a random guy on the internet who at the very least has like a degree in trying to understand and make sense of the senseless nature of American politics. And I always tell you, you shouldn't just get your news from me anyway. And that doesn't mean you should go to SlopTubers or Tucker Carlson to get your news, but like go to the actual legacy papers, go to actual mainstream media outlets and things like that. I'm not your father. I'm the father that stepped up. Social media like Instagram or Twitter, honestly, just wherever I see, really. I can't think of any specifics. I really get my news from all over the place. Social media, Twitter. And then other than that, I tend to stick to Fox News, X, or independent journalism. And I like to watch the 5 on Fox during dinner time. There's another 5 on Fox watcher, just like us. Real sends me news, ground news, which is a lot of different resources from different ends of the spectrum. I also listen to podcasts like The Morning Wire, which I think maybe like the Daily Wire does, and sometimes the local channels. Ben Shapiro, I watch CNBC fairly often as background noise when I'm doing my work. How's the country doing currently? Improving. I think there's a major culture shift that has happened, and that's the main reason I would say there's improvement. Yeah, everything pertains to the culture. There's a culture shift. The anti-woke crusade. The anti-woke crusade won. Please do not look at the dire economic situation. It's the culture change, though. You know, we're all anti-woke now, right? You could say the R word. I think the economy has improved as well, but that culture shift towards an America First type mindset, more of a Christian mindset, that sort of thing is a major shift back to where I feel things used to be. And I think that's an amazing major improvement. All of you deserve to lose your treats, okay? Every single person that has responded in this deserves to lose all their treats. You deserve a world where, you know, ribeye steak is $75 and it is trapped in a cage. You deserve it. You're a pig. You're a porky little pig. And you're just eating the flop. And you think, oh, things are so good. We're Christian now. No, we're not, you fucking idiot. It's improving. The economy is settling. Cope. The overall financial cost of things is finally improving. Supply chains are finally starting to get a little bit back on track. Brother, since what? The Trump tariffs? The Liberation Day? He broke it, now he's fixing it? Is that what you're saying? That's cool. Colin, changing. I also thought about polarizing just because, I mean, if you look at the way people vote or the way the House makes decisions, it's all just becoming very split down the middle. This is why I said Colin probably is also going to be a liberal soon. Improving partly because of tax incentives. Whenever you see new tax incentives for employees, that's going to bring more money into the pocket. Again, hypothetical in the future, not, which is, again, the underlying truth of this statement, or the underlying implication here is that it hasn't gotten better yet, but it will in the future. Also, lowering the corporate tax rate is going to allow people to invest more money back in the capital and assets, which in turn will do a snowball effect for more jobs. Also, over the last few years, I've been very concerned about international affairs and homeland security. What, you didn't like Mr. Five Eyes? You didn't like AUKUS Jack? You didn't like the Finlandization of NATO? I did the NATOization of Finland. You didn't like that guy? Trump's modus operandi in the international stage is far better for my taste. I love Chinese century of prosperity. I think this is a secret Chinese right here. He's saying Trump is bringing about the glorious Chinese century, and I love that. But it does feel as if we're moving in a direction where there's stronger stance on the types of things that are acceptable and unacceptable. Again, culture shit. I think that Trump, though, he's got some insane antics at times, and he has more of a stable presence, and I think he's gonna accomplish more internationally. Addie, the lady who gets her information from her dad, self-admitted. I feel like people have woken up with Christianity. I feel like that is a big part of people's lives now, and it wasn't before. It was Charlie Kirk. I feel like when he was killed was when people started to actually wake up. Like my aunt, she was a big non-believer. And then when all that stuff happened, she got encouraged to go to church. And now she's going every Sunday. Aw, bless your heart, Addie. I bet you we talk shit, but she's probably the happiest out of everyone in this group. Okay. She doesn't got a thing going on between those ears. Okay. She's just like, yeah, I'm carrying the flame. We are Charlie Kirk. You know, I'm fighting for the gospel, just like my aunt, who was a non-believer. Good for you, Addie. Andrew, I feel like the country's worsening. And really because of immigration. I feel like who is in the country makes up the country and dictates what kind of country it's going to be. And I don't feel like the Trump administration is doing enough to deport people. Oh, this is the Nick Fuentes fan, of course. I know that they need resources for that, but they're deporting about as many people as Biden did and as Obama did. They're on track to hit 1 million by the end of this term, which is what Obama did. And I feel like that's not nearly enough. I think more people need to be deported faster. So I would say the country's getting worse. One more lane on the highway and traffic will be solved. 10,000 more Guatemalans deported and the country will be better. I promise. Just one more migrant, please. Anyway, Wilkes, I honestly think it's doing worse right now more than in the years past, just given. I'm about to graduate college and it's a really hard job market right now. A lot of my friends are struggling to find jobs, so things are obviously not ideal. But hey, man, we got those pesky transgenders out of the high school swim meets, So maybe Wilkes, you could say the R word though. You could say the R word, Wilkes. Don't you think that's a market improvement? Atticus, I would say it's improving mainly because we're undoing a bunch of damage. Specifically, I see that in the healthcare world. We're spending more on healthcare than energy and food combined. Obviously, subsidies are growing up, but that's because we're trying to weed out the third-party payment system, which is causing people like me, at least age-wise, to pay so much for healthcare that we don't even end up using. Okay, that's a Medicare for all voter, 100%. As he's out there waiting to be primed and activated. I feel it's worsening. Honestly, one of the big things for me is price increases. I know you kind of mentioned how the economy is getting better, and maybe I'm not plugged into how things are going on the macro scale, but I mean, I go to Walmart or Aldi, meat is 6 to 8 for a pound. That's terrible. And I think the culture war is affecting the media too much. As someone who makes money off an interest in Star Wars, anyone who knows what Star Wars is, knows how that is going. It feels like companies are putting more of their political agenda in entertainment. Oh my God, this guy's plugging his YouTube channel, bro. Brother, you started off strong. And then you immediately turned into Star Wars is gone woke and it sucks now. He's plugging his YouTube channel. Are you kidding me? These adult children. Feels like companies are putting more of their political agenda in entertainment in order to sway the public. And I say that about conservative groups too. Oh, he's an extreme centrist though. I think Christian values matter, but stories are suffering because of political leanings being injected in there. I think we're slowly improving. I think more people our age are starting to get more involved in politics. Starting to kind of wake up to what's going on and realize they have a say in, okay, this is a person that just wanted to sound smart, okay, but no opinions whatsoever. Staying the same. I feel like in some areas we're improving, but then it's kind of shifting in other areas. I would say people are kind of seeking out truth more and seeking out opportunities to learn more. I feel like the cost of living is getting worse. Don't you feel like that's more important than whatever the this is? People are seeking out truth more? What do you mean? I see so many people in their 20s that are like, I went to college and I should be doing well. I shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. And it's getting worse and worse with each passing week. I hear that so often from friends of mine. Oh, okay. So I guess it's not improving then. I think it's improving. The biggest chance to me is that I feel like people are seeing contrast and wanting things to change. We were in a world where right-leaning people were so silent. I wish I lived in that world. When have the right-wingers been silent? What world are these guys living in? I wish they would be quiet sometimes. They're so loud. They constantly yell above their station. They constantly act as though 99% of the American population loves what they have to say. And then when people around them in their immediate vicinity go, ew, what? That's what you believe? I respect you much less now. They go, oh, see? Cancel culture. Cancel culture is when my subordinates don't want to listen to the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience at the water cooler. This is cancel culture. Why won't they listen to me about how they're putting kitty litter in the classrooms? No, man, you're just stupid and annoying. Please be quiet. I feel like it's a combination. Some things are worse. And I don't get it. 1 year into the Trump administration and not a lot of people saying things are banger. Things are incredible. Kind of feels like there isn't a lot going on that they can look forward to. At most, the most hopeful content comes from people who are like, well, things are going to get better, surely. Every single person is holding on to this notion that maybe things are getting better. Every single one of them has been like, things are dog shit when it comes to finances. But I can say the R word or some combination of that, right? Where they're like, well, people are becoming more Christian, I think. So that's good. How the fuck is any of that relevant to your life? It shows you what many of the conservative grievances are, though. It directly arrives at the heart of conservative grievance. People don't like me because my opinions are stupid and annoying. And I annoy people when I constantly talk about them. And I have no other way of carrying on a conversation outside of constantly talking about Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and how we must venerate Charlie Kirk, and how people are not sufficiently venerating Charlie Kirk, who's carrying the flame and fighting for the gospel. And therefore, At least now people are a little bit more scared to be at odds with me. Otherwise, I'll get them deported. So things are improving, I guess. Steak is $75 now. I'm living paycheck to paycheck in a dead-end job that I absolutely despise, surrounded by people that I suspect do not like me whatsoever. But at least they've quieted down. At least, there's a migrant somewhere that was deported, and that makes me feel a little bit better about the future of America. I think it's going to be good. Coffee is now $1,000. And these Democratic judges just freaking like letting people off. The immigrants and the deportation, that just makes me angry. There shouldn't be women dying because certain people are not put away. And like Democratic judges just freaking like letting people off. I'm like, do your freaking job and actually put people away when they commit a crime. Yeah, Lauren, you're right. Famously, the Democratic judges were just letting, Guatemalans go or Hondurans go when they were doing crimes because they were like, oh no, you've done a crime, but also you're not documented. I guess, shit, that's a cheat code. We got the boss call from Brandon. I'm sorry. If you sincerely believe that in the United States of America, over the last 4 years before Donald Trump became president, that if someone committed a crime while being undocumented, they were let go, you have to be forcibly educated. You have to literally, by force, go back to school. That is insane. Or institutionalize. I don't know. Like, what are we doing? How am I supposed to live in a world where someone unironically thinks that that is what's going on? Your sense, like, we have no consensus reality. That's it. We have no consensus reality. How can I live in the same world as this person? That person votes. It's crazy, Lauren. Lauren, the fuck you mean? Like, why are you letting them off? Why is this so politically charged? No Democrat or Republican, do your freaking job. There's talk about cancer research going down and kind of almost ending, and that really makes me angry. Who do you think is ending cancer research, Lauren? You think that was also Brandon? My mom had cancer. My grandma is enduring it right now, but religion's improving. She's like, things are getting better because Donald Trump solved the problem that wasn't really a problem that he just like lied about. But then things are kind of bad because he cut cancer research, but I don't really know who cut cancer research, even though Trump is the president. But also at the same time, things are good, I think, because Gen Z is becoming more godlike. Medieval peasants, all of them. And like, not even post-printing press medieval peasants who at least could like read the Bible themselves. You know what I mean? I'm talking straight up. I'm taking for granted what the priest is saying. Yeah, if I do enough tithing, maybe I'll go to heaven type medieval peasantry. Oh my fucking God. George, it's a little bit of both. I think that overall it's worsening though. Just culturally, societally, looking at the generation beneath us and just seeing how divided everyone is and then how stupid everyone is, frankly. Yeah, I wonder why you think everyone's stupid, George. Maybe the room that you're in. George heard everyone else go before him and was like, yeah, I'm not going to lie, dog. Shit's fucked. Have you seen these other people? Like just filling their brains with nothing all day. And I don't think the advent of AI is going to help much of that. I don't know if anyone's doing their schoolwork anymore, if anyone's learning anything. Okay, George and I have the same concerns. Never mind. And I just feel like things are trending downward across the board. I will say, as far as governmentally, I like that people are waking up to the right idea, and the cost of living, that's concerning. Everything being so top heavy, the stuff they put in our food, I'm pretty negative about it all. Now I understand why China takes education so seriously. Yeah, because they're woke and gay. Okay, that's why. Everybody knows that. And guess what? They don't f with Christianity at all. To be fair to China, in their history, they've had some very unique moments with Christianity. So it's understandable that they would really stamp that shit out to the best of their ability. Like a lot more than they give a f about Islam. Straight up. But everybody knows, yeah, the Chinese Gen Z, not woke. I mean, Chinese Gen Z, woke and gay, not as invested in Christianity. It's f***ed up. That's why they're losing, in my mind. Japan is kind of like that too. No, Japan is way worse at dealing with the cults that pop up than China is. China actually does a much better job, I think, of stamping out any kind of like alternative cults than Japan does. Japan had a massive sequence of terror leading up to the 90s with specifically that. People would just one day get up and go, I'm actually, Buddha's left ass cheek or whatever. And then they would do happy fun time cult. And then boom, 3 weeks later, they're putting fucking mustard gas in the trash can of the most crowded subway station. And what I'm saying, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but like I'm not actually like that. What I'm saying is that literally happened pretty much. Yeah. One said, I'm Jesus' brother, and he told me to overthrow the emperor. Okay, we're not going to talk about that. That's what I mean. Like you can't, that was it. If anything, they were not aggressive enough with Falun Gong, and look where that led. Well, I mean, I guess they can't really operate inside of China, but yes, I'm talking about this. The Tokyo subway sarin attack was a domestic chemical terrorist attack perpetrated on the 20th of March, 1995 in Tokyo, Japan by members of the Aum Shinrikyo cult, which is what? The religion of Aum Supreme Truth. Yeah, they have their own anime and shit. Yeah, this is why you have to carry your trash with you every time when you're in Japan. This is why you have to carry your trash everywhere, and there's no trash cans anywhere. Jaden is getting better, but it's also getting worse at the same time. Our government system could use more improvement. The cost of living is high, and schools, it seems like kids don't want to do anything or focus on school. Improving for a couple reasons. I think the economy seems to be stabilizing, cope, and really in the last year or so, cope. And I feel like since we've had the presidential election, identity politics has taken a little decline. Oh my God! It's always identity politics. It's always identity politics, these people. It's all culture war. We're winning the culture war. We're winning the culture war. No, you're not. Which political figure or media personality best represents you? I used to agree a lot with Matt Walsh. I think he's very aggressive, but he's pretty close. I think he's very aggressive with the left wing, and I think showing hostility to people on the other side is the wrong thing to do. I think it's perpetuating political tribalism. So I used to agree a lot with his points, but not his delivery. He's like, I love the transphobia, but, you know, ease up on shitting on the left too much. Ashley, Charlie Kirk. I like the core values he held and put forward, putting God first above everything. And that Kennedy guy with the raspy voice. Sophie, Charlie Kirk. He has always done a really good job of mixing his religious and family views, but also tying in political views, and he's very well educated. He's not just going off his opinions, he's informed. Allie Beth Stuckley. I think she's pretty grounded in her faith, which is something that I relate to. Sean Ryan and Charlie Kirk and Robert F. Kennedy. Joe Rogan. Wow. Podcasts have really done a number on the minds of people. Oh my God, we're so fucked. Tucker Carlson, especially after his departure from Fox, just seeing kind of how he's a little more middle ground, not so brainwashed by the bosses who tell him what to say. It's a mix between Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson. I like Ben Shapiro because of how he uses debate tactics. He's very intelligent. Joe Rogan's probably my favorite. I really like Nick Fuentes. I feel like he puts a strong emphasis on social conservatism and Christianity and America first, immigration, America first, foreign policy. I feel like these guys live on a totally separate planet. You know what I mean? Like whenever they're like, dude, I really need to have like a strong Christian fundamentalist who roots his worldview around Christianity. Like when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, who are these people? Like I meet religious people all the time, but like, I don't know. I feel like people that just like keep to themselves about their religious worldview. And it's not like everything. It's not like what guides their every waking moment. They're not like, oh, I need... You know, I need someone to tell me how religious they are, how Christian they are in every statement that they make. I think you live in a bit of a bubble in LA, probably. Evangelicals are your biggest blind side. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I travel around. I'm not just in LA, right? Not only do I travel around the world, but I also travel around the country. But even when I go, they all live in Oklahoma. You know, I used to go to Oklahoma all the time. Brother, what are you talking about? OKC has the exact type of person that I'm talking about. OKC has the wokes. Obviously, I'm not like, you know, petitioning the people at Walmart when I go to Walmart in Tulsa or something. But like, there are certainly a lot of people in these places that are much more open-minded than you think. But to be fair, whenever I do travel to red states, I'm still going to cities. And I think that's the problem. America lives in the suburbs, the exurbs, the rural parts. And I think these are where that's where these guys are coming from, I suspect. Like, these are the people who are just like living in a dog shit town, boring as shitty ass job, driving 45 minutes both ways to go to their dead end job that they despise. And in the process, they're just turning on their favorite podcaster and they're listening to that guy. And that guy happens to, you know, be Joe Rogan or Nick Fuentes or Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson, going from the suburbs to the big gay towns to work. I mean, many of you are also doing the same thing, but at least you're getting your information from me, which is, you know, to the best of my ability, I try to show you a very different perspective than what you would encounter from, you know, the rest of your high school friends that never actually left their small towns at all, right? Your life isn't better or worth more because you live in a city, asshole. I'm not saying that at all. I do think that there are significant advantages living in a diverse environment, though, especially about how your you know, how you're most likely going to be more open-minded. It's one of the best aspects of even a college education in general, where you are actually in a diverse learning environment, surrounded by people that you wouldn't normally encounter in a much more segregated environment that you grew up in. Doesn't mean that it's like, you know, worth more or anything. And unironically, it's one of the worst aspects of American existence because there is no public transit. And the cities are designed in this way, where if you live in the city, which is increasingly more costly, virtually impossible to live in, so you are forced out. Usually you're priced out of the cities in general, and you're more isolated. You have to get a car. There's no third spaces, or at least like the only third space you can go to is like church. So the only sense of community you get is from people like Allie, who get their news from their dad, who tells them everything that's going on, and they're happy with it. They're content. Nate is gay. I can't prove it, but there's a trend. Oh my God. Benny Johnson and Michael Knowles. I wonder where you got that from, chatter. Wilkes, Ben Shapiro. I think the best would be Charlie Kirk, Rand Paul. I'd say Jeffrey Meader, Nick Shirley, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Brittany Aldean, Tucker Carlson. Who's heard of Nick Fuentes? Just over half of the participants, 13, put their hands up. What do you think of him? I think it's hilarious. I agree a lot with his points. He definitely doesn't care how it's going to be reacted to, which I respect. But also, it can be kind of dangerous. I think I read earlier that he's not ever planning on running for political office, which I think is probably a good thing. There's a lot of baggage attached to him. I just think he's funny, honestly. And through that humor, he's saying a lot of things that I kind of align with, like how Adolf Hitler was based, I guess. He said that all blacks should be in jail on Piers Morgan. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's kind of a psycho. Allie, at its core, I believe a lot of what he says, but I think the delivery is kind of poor. Like, I feel that way about Trump, but he's America first. He's not anti-helping out other countries, but he's like, we can't be putting our country at risk because of it. So I just think that in the general mindset is what I agree with. I dig him. Dude, this is exactly what I was saying. Nick Fuentes is the logical conclusion of conservatism. Reactionary politics has somewhat of an endpoint, right? And that's Nazi shit. And that's why so many people are like, well, yeah, I'm pretty sympathetic to this guy who openly says he's a neo-Nazi. And at a certain point, once the stigma of being a Nazi goes away, then you start seeing people self-identify as such. And that's what we're moving in the direction of. That's what's so terrifying to me, at least. I dig him. He knows his market. He's not trying to please everybody. He's definitely going after more of a shock value with some of his stuff. But as far as general beliefs or values, I sort of agree. Personally, I think a lot of time he's just joking. He said a lot of things for shock value and notoriety. He does collaborations with black people. I think Nick Fuentes, is very dangerous for our side of things. The right's already being accused of being racist and invalidating women's issues and things like that. It's why the left keeps drawing people in, whether it gets clipped or whether people take it seriously or not. The very fact that you make light of it makes us all look bad. I think being too radical pushes this guy's the extreme centrist. This is the one guy who's like liberal minded, okay? Who's like, yeah, let's not go that far. Okay, Bryce, you're libbed up. Andrew, I would just disagree. As far as Fuentes is concerned, I feel like his viewpoints would have been mainstream not that long ago. If he's saying something like most women want to be raped, well, 50 Shades of Grey sells like hotcakes to women. So I feel like that's just a fact. Ethan, he likes to stir the pot, and it's very polarizing. He has a lot of very strong opinions, and a lot of them are very controversial. Yeah, Nick Fuentes, woman understander, by the way. Bryce was the one that liked Hitler's nationalism, Lamau, but doesn't like when Fuentes says the quiet part out loud. Yeah. Conservatives constantly discrediting the left. Their use of fascists and Nazis unironically cause people not to feel shame of being called it to a certain degree. But I do think that as conditions worsen and as conservatives have greatly expanded on the permission structure of what is allowed, what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say, the number one conquest that they've entertained, actually, the only area where they have actually genuinely changed societal attitudes is being able to say slurs and being open about your racialized animus and animosity and fears and whatnot. That has allowed people to be more comfortable saying, yeah, what's the problem? And the final, like the dam that was holding everything together was like anti-Semitism. And the reason why anti-Semitism had any sort of like institutional stigma attached to it with like actual weight behind it was because it was most commonly used to defend Israel. And now that people are just like, yeah, we don't f with Israel, it's over. And that's why you're seeing all the dam break in its entirety, where people are like, yeah, you know what? This Nazi isn't so bad, actually. That's it. Couldn't have come at a worse time, really, when you think about it. For years and years, they ran with this shit. For years and years, they ran with like, you should be able to make fun of everybody. You should be able to shit on everybody. non-white people for the most part. Because the other side of this is also white identitarian politics. Oh, white people are constantly under attack. Why can't we actually win for once? Oh, it must be because women have a place in the workplace now, and that's why white men are being undermined, or, brown people are in the workplace. That's why white men are being undermined. How is that any different than what Nick Fuentes says? He just ties it back to Jews are responsible. And when you realize that Israel ain't shit, and for the entirety of your life, and still to this day, everyone is tying Israel back to the Jews, then you go, oh, wait, maybe Jews ain't shit either. Yeah, rich people are there to hate. All hate directed elsewhere is just a waste of time. I agree. I think he reminds me of the Andrew Tate Republican Party, where he's really good at addressing a common problem, but the solutions aren't the solutions to go by. So I think a lot of people can relate to what he's saying, because he's going, oh, this is the problem. Then he's trying to offer a solution that doesn't fit. I feel like we're in a time with social media where a lot of people like to rage bait, and I feel like that's part of where he's aiming at with some of the things he says. It's brain rot and misinformation too. Yeah, I'll admit my brain's definitely getting fried. I try to delete the apps and everything, but I still find myself drawn to it. Who wants to get married and have babies? Most of them put their hands up. Only 3 are currently married, 2 to each other, and 1 is divorced. Potentially, I'm a Christian, and no offense to any women here, the Nick Fuentes fan says, but there's not a ton of good traditional Christian women out there. Oh, I wonder why the Nick Fuentes fan would be a repulsive little fucking incel. Brother, you can't even shut the fuck up for 3 seconds. You're surrounded by Gen Z Christians, self-described Christians, and even then you're like, well, I would love a woman to marry, but they ain't shit, And then all the pick-me's, yeah, 100%. There's no modesty. I mean, they're walking out in bras and underwear. Lauren, cover it up. Sophie, well, I think that modesty is a virtue, but even modesty aside, I think if you look at the heart, you look at the values, people are not heavily leaning towards settling down and finding someone to build a life with. Moderator, and how's the dating market? George, you go on great dates, and then it ends after like 5 months. No one wants to stick through the uneven phase. I go to a lot of weddings. I was invited to a wedding last year, and it was too early, so I slept in and skipped it. Well, I'm not into the dating scene, but I do believe it's hard to find someone. Andrew, oh, here we go. Oh, cracks knuckles. Andrew, Nick Fuentes fan coming in. I know a lot of guys who are pretty successful, who are pretty in good shape and successful, and they have a hard time finding a good Christian woman. I'm successful. I do pretty well. I make almost $100,000. I'm only 20 years old, so this isn't top of mind concern for me, but I don't see a lot of good Christian women. I see a lot of tattoos. I don't like that. And I see a lot of promiscuity with women, and I don't like that either. I see a lot of feminism, too, a lot of bossy women. I look at my mother, and I see a very traditional conservative woman. Why can't they all be like my mother? I want to my mother. And I don't see that in other women around. Why can't other women be like my mommy? Oh, Jesus Christ, Andrew. God damn, you are so repulsive. Moderator, what do the women here think about feminism? Hate it, and it shouldn't be here. I think true feminism could work. Okay, Sophie's woke. Should women be able to vote? Yes, but should women be able to vote? Sure. I don't know. But should we be demoralizing ourselves as women and our true values? I used to work, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom. And there was a time when that was really frowned upon. What are you talking about? Okay. And I think that's sad. I think that family culture and values have diminished in our country. No, you were insecure about it. You were made to feel insecure about it because you had one conversation with someone. But who gives a fuck? There is a crisis of confidence in this country, okay? I think many Americans are suffering from toxic insecurity, okay? Levels of insecurity that guide their political worldview. Levels of insecurity that basically are constantly they're constantly tormenting them. Does anyone think women should not be allowed to vote? Andrew, Nick Fuentes fan, Andrew raises his hand. I just feel like women are very emotional, and that politics is a man's discipline. I seriously believe it. My mother actually believes this too. Oh my God, just your mom, dude. Just have sexual intercourse with your mom, Andrew. Just play this out like Oedipus, okay? Play this out like Oedipus. You are such a fucking freak, dog. And then these are the kinds of guys who unironically were like, no, everyone in society is wrong for not understanding me. I know some other women who believe that. I just feel like I've never seen a woman who truly understands politics. You know what's crazy about this? If you think women shouldn't be allowed to vote, why the fuck are you even bringing up women who also agree with you? Who gives a fuck about their opinion? You don't think they are capable enough to make decisions. Why are you trying to beef up your position by, on the one hand, saying women are cattle, but then also some of the cattle agree with me. They like to be eaten. Sophie, yeah, that might be your first issue with finding a good quality girl. Have you ever thought about the fact that a woman's emotions are a beautiful thing and they might compliment a man? Ugh. Wow, good defense, Sophie. No, I don't agree with Andrew on this. Yes, women are more emotional, but Dude, every conservative is like, yeah, they're bitches and shit, but like they should still probably be able to vote, you know? Otherwise, they're going to be annoying. What do you? Women are obviously stupid and emotional, but you should probably let them vote. I mean, my uncle's stupid and emotional, and he votes, even though he's a man. Andrew, I just don't think it aligns with politics. I think politics is a different discipline than what the female mind is designed for. Brother, how can you live in this world in 2025, man? I genuinely don't understand how someone who actually has this opinion in his brain is currently a product of the modern environment. Oh my God. Who's your ideal next president? I think JD Vance. Jaden, there's this guy. He's a streamer. His name is Papa Gut. What the f is that? Jaden, there's this guy. He's a streamer. His name is Papa Gut. I don't even know what's going on there. I'm going to say JD Vance because I don't really think there's a better option. Victor Marks, JD Vance, Vance. Oh, they're so cooked. Michelle Obama. What? Bryce, the guy who read Mein Kampf and agreed with the message. Papa Gut hates you. Papa Gut talks shit about you all the time. I don't know who Papa Gut is, but he's got Jaden's vote. And respect to Jaden and respect. I'm going to vote for Papa Gut as well. I'm voting for Papa Gut on the next election. Why do you guys all know who Papa Gut is? This guy is Papa Gut. H3 hit piece. Frogan's failure is 100% her choice. Yeah, I think this is when I'm thinking about who should lead the country and have command over our nuclear arsenal. I think of a guy who makes YouTube videos about Morgan. Papa Gut calls out Caleb Hammer. Conservative rage baiter Brittany Venti goes after Pokemon and Casey John. Wait, he's like a centrist though. I don't think he's like pro Ethan. I think he's more of like a centrist. Like some of the issues he leans on one side, and on the other issues he leans on another side. Like he's not. YouTube desperately wants to replace everyone with AI. Like Tim Pool labels Candace Owens the arbiter of political violence post Morgan. Well, every statement from Asmongold is an admission of unintelligence. I like this guy. Okay, he's got my vote. He's got my vote. Papa Gut, I will be voting for you, sir. He's anti-you, but has some decent takes otherwise. Scroll down, there's you. Hasan Parker disgustingly compares his shocking Kaya abuse to Emaru's trauma. You know what? I'm still voting for him. Hasan Parker. I'm still voting for Papa Gut. Papa Gut, you got my vote. This fucker hates you. He's the worst of slop tube Lamau. Like you combine Matt Walsh and Hutch and get this fucker? I don't think so. I think he's one of those people that hates streamers but wants to be one. Maybe. I saw some pretty normal clips of him, though I'm not on TikTok much anymore. I feel like every couple months you learn about Papa Gut and it's the first time you heard of him. I'm voting for him. I will never forget him. You pick the worst moments to be charitable sometimes. I don't really give a shit, dude. Oh my God. I can't believe another guy who hates me on the internet. What do you want me to do? Get in line. Listen, if we're picking presidential candidates, JD Vance has talked shit about me too. You know what I mean? I'd rather have Papa Gut. As far as whoever's hating on me, I feel like JD Vance would probably not say that Asmongold is stupid or unintelligent. So I'm choosing Papa Gut over JD Vance in that equation. You know what I mean? You can hate on me all day. Ethan Klein hate goons to Hasan Parker's TikToks. 51 minutes long.
Here's his repost.
What is the what? Who watches a video like this for 51 minutes? Also, that's a very funny title. He's got a good sense of humor. Are we going to ignore he keeps calling you Hasan Parker? I mean, I kind of respect that because it feels like he's like saying, like, to me, okay, here's why I respect this. It feels like he's saying like he hates me with such a deep passion that he's not even leaning into the algorithmic boost that comes along with it. You know what I mean? He's like showing the rest of the slop tubers that it's very real hate. Like it's hate deeply coming from his heart in the sense that he's not doing it for the algorithmic boost. He's doing it for the real love of the game. And I respect that because a lot of these guys are fair weather haters, right? They jump on the bandwagon. They're riding the trend. They're putting Hasan Piker in their titles specifically so they can get an algorithmic boost, right? Papa Gut, on the other hand, don't play that. He don't play that game. He does not around with that. He's like, no, I am literally calling him a whitewash. I mean, my name is Hasan, so I don't know. He's not like Hank Parker. If he said Hank Parker, that'd be different. But he's grifting. I mean, he's not grifting. He's doing it for the love of the game. Papa Gut is Hutch if he had motion and ate another Hutch. Complete waste of time. Okay. Anyway, JD Vance, Victor Marsh, JD Vance, Vance, Obama, Michelle Obama, JD Vance, JD Vance. I defaulted to JD Vance, JD Vance, Ron DeSantis, JD Vance, Michael Bloomberg, Spencer Cox. What? Moderator, do you own any stocks? Just over half of the participants raised their hands. I don't because I have a trust fund, so I haven't thought about it. I own Bitcoin. Does that count? I don't, but I've made some of my own investments in different things. I also have a 401k. Just a 401k. Never had the interest or the knowledge. It's just not down the path that I'm on right now. Wait, so these guys don't even have an investment. So they can't even do the market's doing well. They're just in it for the love of the game like Papa Gut. They're just riding with Trump, not even because they have any capital whatsoever. These are capitalist, bitchless motherfuckers right here. You are defending capitalism, yet here you are utterly devoid of capital. How is that possible? Will you be better off economically than your parents? The majority raise their hand to indicate they will be better off economically. I make more money than my parents did at this age, yet my parents already had 2 houses. What the fuck? And with interest rates where they are currently, my mortgage would eat up almost half my income a month. And then also just the way the cost of living, grocery prices are mixed with the interest rates. Grant, when it comes to things like buying a house or the daily cost of living, that sort of thing, I don't think we'll be able to afford the same things that our parents afforded. Even though we are making more money, I think that the prices have gone so high that it makes it just so it just kind of offsets. I got a little earlier start than my parents did. My dad, he didn't really start making grown-up money until he was in his late 20s, early 30s. So I've started making grown-up money at 20. I'll be able to buy a house in about a year and a half. The groiper is grown-up money. Are you looking for a house? I'm working to buy a house. I'm working at setting myself up to buy. I would like to live in Franklin, a wealthy city just outside of Nashville. After school, I'm going to move to New York City. I don't plan on living there forever, and I'm not going to buy a home in New York City. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, I don't think you're buying a home in New York City, Wilkes. Let's be real. Nate, work might ship me around. It's not economic. It's just more circumstances of life. I'm fixing to go to law school. Back when I had 2 jobs, I was actually on track to buy a house. But I got really burned out. So I just chose to do my passion of writing. So I made kind of a leap of faith and went into that. But with that being my only source of income, I don't make anything crazy. And so I don't have a lot of savings right now. It's going to take a while for me to build up to being able to buy a house. My family's very intact. We've built wealth coming up to me, and not everyone's done that. Not everyone's been able to do that. So I know I'm going to be okay. Okay, that's why he was lying about how much money he's making, guys. He's a landscaper, and you know his family has built up a lot of wealth. Now we know, Andrew. Now we know that you're working for your pappy's landscaping business. Yeah, jet ski dealership. Grant and Madison. We would definitely love to buy a home if we could afford one. No one is affording a home. What is broken in American economy? Healthcare. I agree with that 100%. I got kids. I can't pay that. Rent. We're busting our asses just to pay rent and healthcare that we don't even use. I can't pay for insurance. I haven't had insurance since I quit a job 4 years ago. I don't have insurance, and I've been in hospitalizations. I don't think that guy Luigi Mangione went about it the right way, but I can see where his frustrations were. And Democrats try to have the audacity to tell me that Medicare for all is too far-fetched. I'm telling you right now, it's over. Every goddamn racist transphobe will cast aside their previous biases, all this like irrelevant, nonsensical bullshit about like, oh, the attitude and the society is shifting towards Christianity and we can say the R word now. Every person would literally, with the exception of those fucking dipshit ass boomers who already have Medicare for all over the age of 65, every single person would be on board. That's it. That's the winning message, dude. Even Santa Claus is dancing because he got excited. Capitalism as a system as a whole is significantly better than other economic systems. You don't have any capital. Shut the fuck up. For example, socialism, which a lot of our peers would probably advocate for on the left-leaning side, and I think that just simply doesn't work. You don't know anything. Of course, he's happy. He need that too. He pre-diabetic. Yo, you don't know that. Is it ever okay to take a life or use political violence over a viewpoint? No. Maybe if there's a tyrannical regime or if they're trying to install some sort of fascist nation, someone would have to go to the lengths of Adolf Hitler before that. I really try to lean away from the death penalty. As a Christian, thou shalt not kill. I'm not a fan of political violence in any sense. Literally a Nick Fuentes fan who is a neo-Nazi, by the way. Sure, bud. What do you think of Adolf Hitler? I think he was a great leader, to be honest. I think he was going... Wait, what? Yeah. What the fuck? Bro, never ask Gen Z conservatives what they think about Adolf Hitler. Biggest mistake of my life. What the I think he was a great leader. She's talking about Adolf. Young Adolf? Big A? AH? That's who we're talking about? That's crazy. I feel like there's definitely different ways of describing Adolf Hitler before. I think he was a great leader, to be honest. She said, not the biggest fan of his art in his early years, but really loved what he did after. Okay, great leader. Coworker politics is crazy. I'm in favor of a strong executive. By the way, this is the neo-Nazi who was asked, what do you think of Adolf Hitler? Let's see what Andrew has to say about this. I'm in favor of a strong executive. I think we should have a stronger executive branch. I don't think we should be killing people or doing mass genocide, obviously, but I do think we should have a strong executive. What do you mean? The question was about Adolf Hitler, Andrew. The question is not about the unitary executive theory. It's about Adolf Hitler. Why are you talking about something entirely irrelevant? I feel like one of the biggest problems Trump is running into right now is that all these little courts, they want to throw up little blockages against everything he's trying to do. If Andrew knew even a little bit about, I guess, the history of Nazi Germany, he would probably be talking about, like maybe we need to change the laws a little bit, right? We need to change the laws a little bit, maybe like race laws, right? We need to implement a new race law. I mean, obviously it'd be a little bit on the nose. We went to Nuremberg to do it, but like, maybe we do it somewhere else, right? Somewhere in America. I'm thinking we march to the Madison Square Garden. We get the America First movement, the America Bund movement. We get them together and we march to the Madison Square Garden and we take it over. Whether it's terrorists or deporting people. So I'm very pro-strong executive, strong leader, strong man. I support national sovereignty. And Hitler was a nationalist. He was like, we have to take Germany back for Germans. And I feel like we should do that in America. We should take America back for our native population. I don't think he's talking about the indigenous population, by the way. Anyway, so I'm not an expert on Hitler by any means, but as far as nationalism is concerned, I'm all that. Bryce, I myself am actually Jewish ancestrally. I'm Christian by faith, but Jewish by blood. I've actually read Mein Kampf. The end conclusion that he came to, absolutely abominable, but I strangely understood where he was coming from as far as wanting to improve the national state of Germany. He made a lot of people suffer, and I want to do ungodly things to people who do things like that. Oh, thank God, there's at least one person. Moderator, what do you think? Oh, no, the second dangerous question. Moderator, what do you think of Jewish people? Atticus, they've got Hollywood on lock. Don't they own, George, don't they own like a ton of the media and like just kind of everything? Bryce, no different than black people, Asian people, or any other people here today. I don't really know why there's a single issue about Jewish people. This is the guy who read Mein Kampf, who's ancestrally Jewish. Andrew, oh my God. Andrew, again, Andrew's like, you asked me about women, and now you're asking me about Adolf Hitler, and now you're asking me about Jews. Those are like three of my favorite subjects. One could say, Jews are kind of like the women of the genders, of the religions. Bad across the board, and I can't fuck them like my mom, who I want to fuck. Let's see what Andrew had to say. I would say a force for evil. I don't see why we support Israel. I think Israel's a very evil state. The genocide in Gaza, killing all these poor people. And the reason we really support them is because they are the biggest donors. We have AIPAC and all these Jewish-run organizations. Congratulations to Israel. You got Andrew to speak out on Jews as an evil entity collectively by immediately associating it with Israel. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Andrew. Let me clarify that. Andrew, do you think the Jewish people are a force for evil? Yes, sir. It doesn't bother me if it's true. Those slurs, if you're racist or whatever, just rolls off my back. This is my country. My people have been here since the American Revolution, so I say what I want to. Okay, moderator, what do others think about that? I assume people are a little bit repulsed by Andrew at this point. Let's see. My boyfriend and I were just discussing the difference between Judaism and Christianity. And when you're looking at biblical terms, the only difference is they don't believe in the New Testament. I don't understand what the overall difference between the two groups. Ali, I think for me, that any classification of a whole people group, I just don't think you can say this entire group is bad. My husband's Jewish. I wouldn't say that they're doing anything to people, you know? I don't think they're a force for evil, but I do think the relationship with Israel is very complex, and it's not just oil and special interests. There's so many things that go into that, and it just makes it a very difficult subject. Lauren, I hear pro-Israel content all the time from certain pastors, and it makes me question them. I used to go to Global Vision Bible Church with Greg Locke, and he's demonic, and I know a lot of stuff and how much harm he's done to a lot of people. He goes to Israel all the freaking time and takes his stupid money. Israel has a lot of connections to sex and human trafficking, and that doesn't sit well with me. I don't feel this is anti-Semitic because I'm a little bit Jewish myself. So I have all the room to talk. And I've been seeing evidence. When you see evidence of a pastor abusing people or a pastor won't show you his financial statements, that's a big freaking problem. Okay. So Jews, kind of iffy with the group. Okay. Even amongst the people who are a little bit Jewish. George Santos style. I'm somewhat of a Jew myself, says Lauren. So the moderator switches to Israel. And I suspect things are not going to get better for Gen Z conservatives from that point on. Because now we're not even talking about Jews, okay? We're just now talking about Israel. Let's see what they have to say. I definitely think the genocide is bad, but I can see the pros in having a positive relationship with Israel. Also, how do we know that the entire thing, numbers from Gaza, is being accurately represented to us? I don't think it's being accurately portrayed to us. I don't think George thinks that the numbers are actually much higher than the ones that are presented. I think he thinks it's much lower. George is invested in the conservative sphere. It's one thing to declare a war on terrorists. It's another thing to declare a war on the race of Arab people. I tend to avoid topics on Israel because my feelings are so conflicted about it. Honestly, this is the most thought I've given to the subject. I wish the genocide had never even started. I feel conflicted on the subject. I love how Americans will just be like, obviously genocide is bad, but low-key, the people doing the genocide, we should probably be chill with them because they give us medical technology. Also, have you heard of Waze? Like, that's a crazy thing to say. Like, this is the defining trait of the average American and the way that they operate, okay? Yeah, genocide is bad, but the people doing the genocide also worked on Waze, and I really can't live without Waze when I'm on my way to work. It helps me avoid traffic. Treatler final form. Yeah, have you had a soda from a soda stream? Okay, it's crazy because like Israel doesn't even invent things that these guys actually care about. It's medicine. They hate that. You know what I mean? Like they hate pharmaceuticals. So to them, it's, you know, what do you got? You got Waze, you got SodaStream, and then you got a ton of pharmaceuticals, right? And they hate medicine. They think it's all woke and demonic. And also, they can't even afford it. So it doesn't even matter. Seemingly, none of them have insurance. I feel conflicted on the subject from a biblical standpoint. I don't think we should have anything to do with putting weapons in Israel. I actually personally don't know why we're allied with Israel at all. But from a biblical standpoint, I can see why we would want to keep our eyes on Israel because that's where things will start stirring when the end times come. This guy's anti-genocide, but he's like, yeah, we should just still pay attention to what Israel's up to. They're up to some shit over there. And, you know, they're going to bring about the end times. Cool. Allie, I'm primarily just anti-war. I don't want to go to war, so I have to play nice with people that we don't necessarily agree with. They're doing to keep our people safe. That's like my number one priority. Jaden, I personally don't mind if the U.S. has a relationship with Israel, the Papa Gut voter. I just don't think it's worthwhile having so much of our interest going into a country in the Middle East. I don't think it's important. I think there's a lot of negative opinions on Israel based on a situation that wasn't provoked by them, and they had to respond. And they've responded with some mistakes, and just a couple mistakes. And people don't appreciate America's resources going towards that. But you have Hamas hiding behind civilians in Gaza. That's not really a recipe for success. Of course, all the conservatives sound like all the libtards that are up my ass every day. As Christians, basically, we're supposed to protect them. Israel's positive, important, and the lesser of evils. Ukraine, scam, Europe's problem, over-involved, calculated in money, over-involved. Yeah, over-involved. I don't really care. Oh my God. Literally in unison. Everyone's like, nah, get us out. Get us out of there. Israel, I don't know. The Bible says it's okay. Moderator, do you agree or disagree that all illegal immigrants should be deported? 13 of the 20 say they agreed. 7 did not, including Bryce. Oh, how much longer is this? I'm so tired. I think I'm going to give up at this point. I can't do it anymore. I've been doing it for 10 hours. This is a wonderful, wonderful article, though.